Okay. I read the following message for you. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with Emergency Ordinance Number 20-A16, an emergency ordinance to ensure the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. Okay, I'll acknowledge the members present are Larry Brown, Ron Brownfield, myself, Richard Hiss, Stephanie Lowen Hout, Brian Mason, Ida Lee Wooten, Anthony Arcelli. Staff members present are Bea Kirtley and Rachel Falkenstein, and I suspect Carolyn Schaefer's in the background.
Yes.
Okay. We have a quorum. That's enough members so that we're legal from that standpoint. First order of business to see if we can come up with a volunteer who will be the secretary for the coming year. LJ has served us well for the last 2 years, I believe, but he has been maxed out. As you may not know, wife just had a baby girl in July. And so he's busy at home. So do I have anyone who would volunteer to be the secretary for the year? I'd appreciate it. It's not that big a job. You just follow down the agenda and add the comments that come up during the meeting that are salient to it.
And also the agenda or the minutes can just be action minutes. In other words, only when we agree upon something. You know, you don't have to go into a lot of detail of everything that was discussed. If we want to, you can, but otherwise you can just say, you know, we discussed these things and there was a consensus or wasn't a consensus, you know, action items.
The meeting is recorded in
Yes.
full, so it's on the official record at the
Right.
county office building. Anybody want to do it just for one night? Okay, I guess I'll take care of it then. Think about it for the next meeting so that we can have somebody do it. I'd appreciate it.
One other thing, Dick, if no one will volunteer, maybe we could rotate it. I don't know. I guess that's okay, Rachel, right?
I don't know. I can check with the county attorney and see if that's a problem. I don't see why that would be an issue, but
okay.
Double check and let you all know next month.
We've done it once before, I know, and we've had people take the minutes when LJ was unable to, so. Okay, the next item is the minutes of our June meeting. You should have received a copy from Carolyn. Are there any corrections, additions, or changes to the minutes?
I move that the minutes be adopted as written.
Okay,
Second.
Ida Lee moved. Is there a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, who did?
I did.
Okay, Ron, thank you. All in favor, raise your hands. Count. Okay, we're all approved. Okay, at this point, Rachel, we've asked for a brief overview of development projects in Pantops. Look forward to that as a key part of our meeting every month to understand what's going on and coming on here.
Okay, thank you. I think there are a couple of you I have not met, so just real quickly, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rachel Falkenstein. I'm planning manager in the Planning Division of Community Development. I work closely with Cameron, who's been your liaison for a while. And Cameron, as many of you probably know, has taken on a new role, has some additional responsibilities. So I'm going to step in and do the liaison at least for a couple months, and then we'll check back in, see if he's got the capacity to come back to you all. I know how much he likes working with you. So I did get with Cameron and asked him to just give me an overview of the projects he's been updating you on so I can provide some continuity for you all. So I'm just going to go down the list that he provided me. And if you have questions, let me know and I can chase those down and get back to you. So the first project he mentioned is Pantops Shopping Center. There's a major site plan amendment here for a new car wash building. It's about 1,000 square feet. It's at the rear of the shopping center near where the Little Caesars used to be. And he said this plan is proposing 31 parking spaces and a car wash building. And he said this is still under review. And right now they're waiting on the applicant to resubmit revised drawings to try and address some of the comments from the previous rounds of the site plan sent to the developer. So they're waiting on a resubmittal for that.
Okay.
One he mentioned is the Hampton Inn, which is also under site plan review. This is a final site plan, and that's for the Hampton Inn Hotel along State Farm Boulevard. And that is still under review, but he said they're nearing approval on that one and waiting on some final easements to get recorded before they can approve that final site plan.
Do you have an idea when that final review would be finished?
A lot of that is really on the applicant and the developer. When as soon as they can get their final easements recorded, we can approve it, but that can take weeks or months. It just kind of how motivated or how much in a hurry they are and how long it takes to get the signatures they need on those easements. The next one is the Old Malloy Ford site, which is also a site plan amendment. That's a major amendment. And that one was recently approved. And that proposal was to update the facade on the main building, and work has started. So the site plan had proposed a new building as well, a 4,800 square foot service building at the rear of the property. And some of the site work also includes resurfacing the existing parking lot, and that was approved in June. Still don't know who the end user is going to be, but it indicates it will continue to be an automobile dealer. So someone selling cars, we don't know who though. The next one is Take 5 Pantops, and that is an initial site plan. So they're earlier in the review process, and they're proposing a 1,500 square foot building for automobile service uses, which he indicated this is an oil change place on the front corner piece of land of the Pantops corner development. And that's where the Wawa and the Holiday Inn Express and the storage facility development are on the north side of 250. And
Will it be on that small piece of vacant property that's there where Wawa is, or is it behind it?
I can open up the plan and look at it. See if that will open for me. Sorry, it's taking a second to load. So does not look like it is on the Wawa.
So it's on Route 20 then? Yeah.
I'm trying to zoom in and see if I can see what road that's on. Well, let me go down to the next one and I'll come back to this. So here we go. Boy, that font is small. Pantops Corner Way. This is an internal street. And
Yeah, I didn't recognize that as a street. That's part of my problem when I saw the application.
okay. Yeah, how about I finish going down my list and I will look at this plan and maybe at the end of the meeting, I can give you an update on that.
It could be across the street from Wawa near 250, but across the street from, well, when I say across the street, across their driveway, which is actually a street.
That might be what that internal road is Wawa's entrance.
Okay.
I'll take a closer look here in a minute and I will let you know. Either if not, I can get back to you in a couple of days. Okay, so that one is, like I said, that's an initial site plan, so that's currently under review and comments haven't been issued yet, so that's a. The next one is the South Pantops Townhomes. This is also initial site plan, and it's the development of the property that was formerly known as the Vistas at South Pantops. And that one, the Vistas was withdrawn. So this is a whole new proposal, and this project is proposing 40 single-family attached townhomes, which would be a density of about 3 units an acre. And this one is still under review, and we have not provided comments yet. And then the last one on the list is the Overlook Hotel, and this is a zoning map amendment, otherwise sometimes called a rezoning. And that's a proposed hotel on the out parcel in front of the Rivanna Ridge Shopping Center where the giant grocery store is located. And this group had a community meeting with that back in January. And the applicant has since gone through 2 reviews with staff when the last review was completed in May. And there were still some outstanding questions and comments from the reviewers. And it sounds like it's the reviewers' understanding that the applicant does intend to resubmit for a 3rd review. At this time, we don't have any public hearings scheduled with the Planning Commission.
So Rachel, if I may interrupt for that one, because we had a lot of concerns, the CAC, we had a lot of concerns regarding that, that development. Once we found out more about it, is it possible for it to come back to the CAC before it goes to public hearing?
We could certainly invite the applicant to come back, and at the same time, we'd have the development review planner come back as well. But that would have to be optional. We can't require them to come back, but
Okay.
typically they're willing to. If you know, we give them an invite, they're typically willing, especially if there have been changes. So I'd be happy to reach out and see if they could come to your future meetings, maybe in the fall.
Okay. Is that something you all would like to see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
That's what I-
definitely, especially if there are changes and there were concerns about
Okay.
getting in and out of the property, et cetera.
Thank you.
Okay, and that the list. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from everyone mute if you're not speaking. And I see that Brian has a hand up. Did you have a question, Brian?
No, that was when we were voting to approve the minutes. That was my raising my hand.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't notice that.
Ron has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Bea brought this up the last meeting. And it's the
Mute
issue.
again. All right.
Yeah, if everybody would mute except for the person speaking, then that will cut back on the reverberate. Yeah. Dick, you have to mute.
All right, can I ask? Bea had a question at the last meeting, and it was the issue of Toby's, the pawn shop, using a military vehicle as a sign parked on their property. And so I'd like to know if anything's been dealt with that as to that, you know, use of a sign, it's a permanent sign there. It's been there forever, I think.
I am taking that down, and I'm going to reach out to our site plan reviewer for that property and see if there has been a permit for that. And I will get back to you all.
Thank you.
I tracked those approvals, Ron, and I've never seen an approval for a sign on that pawn shop. So
Rachel, just one on that Pantops corner one, I was just looking at it. I think it's the one B was talking about. It's that vacant lot that's across the way from Wawa to the west of it. I think that's the one where it's 0.7 acres. I think that's the property. Everything else has been developed other than that vacant parcel.
That's correct, Rachel. I just looked it up on the ARB action memo, and it's on the north side of Route 250 at the intersection of Pantops Corner Way and Route 250. And they just had a preliminary site review at the ARB meeting last week, and they have to come back with some changes.
Great, thanks both for that information. Well, that's all I had. If there are no more questions, I can turn it back over to you, Dick.
I do have one more question. So is any concern about people trying to make a left-hand turn into the Wawa, coming out on the other side of the street? I see cars trying to make that left-hand turn right there, but I don't think it's designed for that. But it's not clearly prohibiting vehicles from doing it. It's just, I think it could be a potential hazard. Does anybody looked at that or talked about that?
Yeah, I can address that, Brian,
Okay,
as soon as you mute yourself.
I will do that.
Okay, so yes, this has come up actually in one of our board meetings. We are concerned about that because they call it a pork chop, the way the thing, it comes out. So you're not supposed to be able to turn left in there. I actually witnessed myself going on 250 going eastbound, 2 cars that made a left turn into the Wawa station. So we are looking into that. That will actually be taken care of once that suicide lane is taken out, because remember, they're redoing from Rolkin Road down to 20. They're redoing that whole strip down there and taking out the suicide lane, that they call it a suicide lane. And but we're looking at maybe putting up some bollards, contacting VDOT to put up some bollards in the meantime, so that people do not turn left or from that into that property or out of that property. So yes, it's on our radar screen, definitely. Thank you. But it is in VDOT's hands.
Anything else, Bea, that you have?
I mean, you didn't want me to give my report now, did you, or did you?
Yes, if you would. Yep.
Sure. Okay, it was on the agenda regarding the current ARPA activity. We had millions of dollars from the CARES Act, which was from the federal government to the state to us, that those monies have been allocated, expended to help our businesses. We purchased heaters for the restaurants and doing all kinds of things just to help the economy and our businesses and stay afloat. This next wave, what they call the ARPA, American Recovery Program, we have allocated so far $800,000 for Pathways Emergency Financial Assistance Program. That helps those people who are facing eviction, basically through no fault of their own, but they're facing eviction. So the board is allocating monies to help the people be able to stay in their home, because if they have to leave their home, that's even more of a burden, not only for them, of course, but on the entire county and our system. So we're doing that to help with evictions. I will tell you, we did not vote at this point in time to give monies for legal aid, because we feel that there are other monies elsewhere for legal aid, and we want to be able to try to avoid the evictions before they go to court and try to help people that way. We feel it's a better money better spent that way. Also, we're looking at 3.2 million is being reviewed for eligible activities in this emergency financial assistance program. So we're looking at even more monies. What's difficult about the ARPA funds is that we really don't have a handle on what we can spend, how we can spend it yet. The government, the federal government, state, or especially the federal government, they're coming out with guidelines as to what we can spend the monies on. So the one thing we don't want to do is to spend money illegally and then have to give it back. We're waiting to get direction from the federal government. That information is still forthcoming. We have until 2023 to spend the money. So it's not like it's imminent. It wasn't like the CARES money that we had to spend it very quickly. So there's more there. We have approved we're looking at investment in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And we have allocated so far 4.5 million has been approved for broadband. Trying to get, our hope is to get fiber internet access in the entire county by the end of 2023. That's our goal, and working with the the various providers of internet. So hopefully that will happen. From what I understand, there are only a few homes where we might not be able to reach them because they're like, miles away from the road. But then we'll have to come up with another solution. So basically that's the update on the ARPA funds, because we're still looking at the guidelines, what we can spend it on, how we can spend it, and what we can spend it on. So pardon?
ARCA?
ARPA.
ARPA.
The American Rescue Plan. Yeah. And the other news is, I think you've all heard, hopefully, that we passed a gun ordinance. No guns allowed. Thank you. Thank you. No guns allowed in county buildings or in the parks, county parks. We did make a compromise, and we said if you have a legally owned gun or a what they call a concealed handgun permit, then you can keep it secured in your car. But don't bring it in the park, don't bring it in the building. So it can be in a parked car. That was a compromise because, someone may come there and then it's like, uh-oh, what do I do with my gun? So that was a compromise, but it's similar to no guns in schools, no guns in hospitals, no guns on county property, no guns in the courthouse, I'm trying to think of what else. Are you familiar? I don't think you're familiar with the Monute project on Polo Grounds Road. If you're not, then okay. We just help the little kids play more and longer. So soccer. So that's about it. Thank you. Oh, no, I just thought of something. Part of our legislative agenda that I'm trying to push is to be able to get speed cameras on our rural roads. Especially I'm thinking of Route 22, 231, and 20, where it's not feasible to have police cars stationed there. There's no place to pull traffic over. And if you do pull a truck or a car over, then you've got a miles-long backup. So looking at asking the legislature to give us the permission, and hopefully if we can find sponsors for that legislation to get it through, to be, this year, next year, to be able to give us the authority to have speed cameras on rural roads. And just to let you know, I'm working with not only my Democratic friends, but my Republican friends, because it's going to take a bipartisan effort to pass this little puppy. So that's it.
Thanks for your efforts, Bea. We appreciate all you've done.
Oh, and I just, another thing, we're trying to get Freebridge Lane closed, working with VDOT, to, instead of doing the incremental approach of just closing that sucker down, having a gate on either end of, I shouldn't have said that word being recorded, but having a gate on either end but not obstructing the one business and not obstructing the two households that live there. So that way, if you have a gate, eventually turning it into a more park-like area, contributing to our additional parks, and then maybe even increasing parking if we can. But we'd like to get that closed down and maybe even be able to have events like arts festivals and things like that along that road, because it'd be, you know, closed off just by having two gates. That's it. Thank you.
Dick, you're muted.
Yeah, unmute, Dick.
I
Unmute, Dick. There you go.
It confuses me. I am just saying, B, there's a lot of interest on past committee members and meetings about that street, and getting it resolved would please everyone on this committee, that's for sure.
That is true. And we were actually going to try the staggered approach, meaning putting some speed bumps there and then making it one way. And I talked to Kevin McDermott, and he came up with that plan. He said, why don't we just close it? And he said, VDOT just has to turn it over to the county. So the county has to be willing to accept that portion of land and maintain it. So that's, but hopefully can get that done.
Okay, is there any old business anyone would like to bring up? Is there any additional new business, anything anybody would like to bring up? B, you said you were working on trying to get some additional committee members. Did I understand you correctly?
Yes. Well, actually, I'm kind of reaching out to everybody. I know Stephanie's going to reach out to someone, a friend of mine, Teddy Hamilton's reaching out. Brian Mason's going to reach out to someone. So yes. And I think Olivia Branch is going to reach out to someone. So
Good.
I can't do anything until they submit their application.
Right.
So I think Ron has a question.
Just a comment. B, that's a good idea. Have Freebridge as an art area for art fairs. That's a great idea, I think, for that. I just have a general question for those of you who might have contacts with developers or something like that. And that's Pantops could sure use like a hardware store or even a building materials store. I'm not a big fan of a big box store, but I think a hardware store would be great in Pantops with the population that's grown so much over the years here. I don't know if anybody's heard anything about that in the past or future, but that's all.
Kind of like a Martin's Hardware. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, you know, Ace Hardware, you know, something.
Yeah. Maybe you can work on that, Rachel.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Cal, you have your hand up?
Yes, Mr. President, point of privilege, please. But I believe that last month was the month where we were supposed to have a general election of chair, vice chair, and secretary. Is that correct, Rachel?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I can look. It will probably take me 2 or 3 minutes to get that answer, though.
I do think that it's extremely important. And Dick, yeah, you've done a wonderful job for the last 2 years under very, very difficult situations. But I do think that to stick with the bylaws that were created by the Board of Supervisors, we do need a election of chair, vice chair, and secretary. We've bombed out on secretary, but I do think we need a clarification of this just to stay legal.
That is correct. July is your month when you typically do elections.
Correct. And we were adjourned that month, so naturally moves over to this month, and I do think that we need to take action on that one way or the other. Because both of our vice presidents have gone off.
So in order to have an officer election, you do need to notice it in advance. So you can plan to do that next meeting, and it will be on the agenda. So people will see the agenda that's posted, and that will be your advance notice. But I'll make sure that's on there for next month.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel.
Now, may I ask this? If I come back on as a visitor, or whether it's approved or not, staying on, may I make a motion?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, no, go. I'm asking next month.
Oh,
Rachel
okay.
has clearly said we can't do it until next month. And I appreciate that, Rachel.
So are you meaning if you reapply to the CAC, can you make a motion?
Yes, but
Yes.
can I recommend that a board member make a recommendation also? As just being a part of the audience,
People,
as I am right now.
anyone can make a recommendation, but only members of the CAC can make a motion.
Okay. Very good.
So Cal, you have to get your application in like right away because we have 2 more board meetings before our next CAC meeting.
Very good. Thank
Right,
you.
right. So that could happen, actually, Cal. If you put it in right away, you could get reappointed before the next meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. But I do think that the board needs to be alert that this must be done.
Cal, do we need 2 vice chairs?
No. We only need 1.
Okay. Okay, Cal, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome.
Great. So are there any other specifications as far as terms or anything like that, as far as in the bylaws? Because I'm not sure I've seen those bylaws.
I can email them around. The main thing is your terms are 2 years. You can reapply twice, so you can serve up to 3 years. And then for the chair, you can chair up to 2 years. For all officer positions, you can be in that position up to 2 years, but then the bylaws say you shouldn't serve more than 2 years.
Shouldn't serve more than how many?
And and it's consecutive. So you could go off a year and then come back and be a chair or vice chair again.
As a member, aren't we appointed for a 2-year term?
Yes, that's your membership. Your membership
Right.
is 2 years, but the officer elections are 1 year.
Okay,
And I think you can be, you can have 3 2-year terms, correct?
right.
And then if you go, what you're going to find out, Rachel, is if you go off a year, can you then reapply the following year?
Yes, I can check on that. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's silent on that. So I'll check with the attorney's office.
Thank you.
Then, Rachel, you said something about you can only you can be in a chair or vice chair for 2 years. Is that right? Then if you're continuing for the 3-year term, the 3 2-year terms, you can continuously do that or not?
No, you cannot. You can only serve 2 consecutive terms as an officer. So you can only be the same officer 2 years in a row, and then you would have to go off. But then I think you can come back on after a year off, but I want to check on that.
Thanks for clarifying. So then we kind of know where we need to start with for the officers for 2020 for the next year. So we'll know what the ground rules are for determining chair, vice chair, et cetera.
And I can follow up via email in the next, week or so. So you all know going into the next meeting, what the limitations are on those positions.
But the officer positions has nothing to do, membership, you can do up to 6 years.
Mhm.
Being an
Correct.
officer, it's only 2 consecutive years. Then you have to go off for a year and then you can come back on.
Any other new business to bring up? Rachel, how's Cameron doing? Just a quick update. Everything fine with Cameron?
Yes, Cameron is doing well. He actually said he was listening in for a couple minutes and he had to go. We've hired a new development review planner, and Cameron's spending a lot of time helping train the new staff person, as well as managing a lot of development activity going on. So he's definitely staying busy.
Good.
Any other business to come before our August group? Our next meeting is September 27th, I think is the date. Over here somewhere. Anyway, it'll be the 4th Monday, which I think is 27th. With that, I'll bring the meeting to a close and thank you all very much.
Thank you.
See you in a month.
Thanks, Dick, for everything and for taking the minutes.
Okay, we'll see how they come out.
Rachel.